Hello, benefit spongers and assorted strangers from the internet. My name is Matt Lees, and this is this week's update/Q&A video for benefit spongers. Obviously now, as I said last week, for benefit spongers, this goes out on Thursday, and then for everyone else on Monday, becomes available on YouTube and on SoundCloud. I am going to make a podcast. I'll probably have that ready for Monday. I need to set up, boring stuff, RSS feeds. I don't really understand RSS feeds. Obviously, I do another podcast, regular features, but Log always handles that stuff. So I think I need to do it manually for lots of dull reasons, but I'll work that one out when I get to it. So updates, generally speaking, I'm drinking tea from a mug. This is the word soup on the side of it, which is, it's not my mug. It's one of the people in my house, but I like it because it doesn't make sense. What else is going on, really? It's been an all right week to a degree. I've managed to get some stuff done. Obviously, I had the ridiculous Diddy Kong video, which you might have seen earlier this week, which was great fun. I ended up making my head look massive. It's really weird. The only reason I did that with my head for that video is because I was trying to find a baseball cap. And so I could make myself look like a child by wearing a baseball cap backwards. And I couldn't find one in the house. So I was like, how can I make myself look like a child? And it turns out the next obvious way of doing that was to use After Effects, which was, I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It was genuinely quite creepy. Also made that video I talked about a couple of weeks ago about kind of Dark Souls and reviews, and it's actually more about reviews generally than anything else. It's not really about Dark Souls 2. I think Dark Souls 2 exacerbates a lot of the issues at hand, but it's generally about the review process, really, and just sort of thinking about that and the times when reviews are less useful than they should be because of it. But anyway, I'm not going to ramble on about that here, because if you want to know about that, you can watch that video. It's on the channel. It's quite long, but I think it's quite interesting. I mean, it's not absolute, and a lot of people have said, "Oh, you've said this," and it's like, well, there are some generalizations there, obviously, but I kind of assume that stuff is going to be taken with a pinch of salt. Anyway, apart from that, it's actually been quite, as I say, a productive week. In terms of getting stuff sorted anyway. You may notice that my room is slightly different because, unfortunately, my week got kind of skadooshed when I realised that there was a leak in my ceiling, which is kind of annoying. So I've had to rearrange my entire bedroom/studio to accommodate for the fact that there's a leak not above my bed now. But thankfully, the weather's lovely. It's very dry and sunny, which means no drip in the background of this video. Thank God. Hopefully, they're going to fix my roof. I don't know. I'm moving out in 2 months, so we'll see. But also I've got this. I'll show you very briefly. That is quite nice. Basically, I've got a kind of proper boom arm for the microphone. I've realised there's still a slight hum on the audio that I need to remove. And I know how to do that now. I think I need to get a powered USB hub. This is kind of tedious stuff if you're not into your tech. But that will basically mean, once I've got that, it means that the combination of the shock breaker from the microphone and the combination of having a power source for the microphone that doesn't have, because USB ports that power things often have that kind of electricity from the PC as well, which means you get a kind of very low hum. So I just want to eradicate that, because then it means I can basically make things sound really nice without having to noise correct. And I've just poured hot tea all over my dick again. I do this every week. I've got to stop doing that. But luckily not too hot. What I'm working on at the moment? Well, I'm going to kick off the XCOM thing because a lot of people have asked me for that, and I really like playing XCOM. A lot of people criticised last time. Well, not criticised, but a lot of people said to me, Matt, when you're doing these XCOM Let's Plays, you don't need to talk the whole time, because I was sort of talking over them, jabbering away, and they were like, it's okay for you not to say anything sometimes. So I'm going to try and give that another go, because I think, there was a tendency, and I kind of didn't notice I was doing it until afterwards, but then as soon as I saw a few YouTube commenters saying that, I was sort of like, yeah, you're right. I was just jabbering just to fill the gaps. So I'm looking forward to starting that again. I'm going to try and get that recorded today, hopefully uploaded today. We'll see. My internet here is being a bit flaky at the moment. It's kind of annoying. Like, you realize your internet's crap, but when you start working from home, it's like, oh God, it really doesn't work. And apologies, you might not be able to hear it. Hopefully you won't, because this microphone's quite condensed and it shouldn't pick it up, but there is some mad bastard out there cutting down bushes or something. So if you can hear a crazy chainsaw noise from time to time, that's why. Sorry about that. Hopefully he'll stop. I think I've got most of the tea off my crotch now. Job done. Fantastic. Other stuff, I've kind of let myself down a little bit in the fact that I've been concentrating so much on getting stuff done and getting work done at the moment that I haven't really played any games. I've played a bit of Bravely Default. I've almost bloody finished it because the number of JRPGs I've played versus the number of JRPGs I've finished is ridiculous. Like I hardly ever finished any of them, but I feel like I'm close with this one, so I want to do it. I need to play some more Strider because I do rate that a lot, but I want to see how it unfolds because before I make a video about it. I was intending to play some Lords of Shadow, but now it's kind of out. I'm not sure because it's like I've got it. I've heard really mixed things about it, and in some ways that makes me want to play it more. In some ways that makes me want to check it out and really find out for myself. But in other ways, it makes me think I'm kind of, as a fan, I'm not sure I want to play it because it sounds like it's a bit of a mess, and I love the first game. So I'm kind of putting it off, and also because I know it'll probably be quite a big game as well. I'm kind of thinking, should I go and invest all that time into playing that game, or should I maybe look at something that's about to come out? And obviously Dark Souls 2 is coming out next week, and I'm going to be investing a lot of time into that. As soon as that comes out, I'm going to play it a lot. So I'd really like to play some of those games. I'm definitely going to play some more Strider. I'd like to check out Lords of Shadow. I've heard some really interesting things about Banished, about giving people onions or they'll starve, and that sounds like it would be really good fun to play and maybe make a stupid video about. But at the moment, yeah, I'm kind of just trying to work out what to spend the time doing. Obviously, the things I've done this week have been quite lo-fi. Hope you guys have liked them. I've kind of want to get more into the stage. Is that a... Yeah, that's my ceiling just dripping. I kind of like to get more into the stage of using the green screen a bit more regularly and having me actually on camera talking about things, but it's a bit of a faff in my room at the moment, and the green screen is really good, but it doesn't work in direct sunlight sometimes, and because of the lighting in my room, I'm getting around it, but it basically means I either have to get up very early in the morning or do it in the evening. Evenings can be tricky. A lot of this stuff will be solved in the next few months because I'm going to be moving somewhere else, and these things just won't be an issue. But hopefully you've liked the lo-fi stuff. I've tried to kind of make sure I'm still making stuff that's interesting, even if it's not highly produced all the time. But yeah, it's kind of, things are getting there now in terms of the kind of equipment I need. I've pretty much got all that stuff. And actually, I should say that the first Patreon kind of payment thing, I haven't actually gone through to my PayPal yet, but it's all come out, which means fantastic. And that's pretty much like paid for some of the equipment I've just bought, which is fantastic because it means it's kind of like with that cash, it means now I can invest. I don't have to worry about the fact that I've just spent money on stuff like microphone things and green screen things. It means I can just make cool shit. Anyway, I think that's about it for an update this week. It's kind of quite... I've got like lots of ideas of things I want to do. I still want to do a bunch of stupid things. I still want to do the Dota 2 Spin Olympics. I still want to do the Don Matrick reviewing Xbox games. I suspect that one might happen in the next week because the ideas are kind of brewing around in my head in terms of the jokes for the Don Matrick Xbox game review thing. So I think that one will kind of... It's not quite there in terms of like there are still some gaps. It needs a few more good jokes, but I'm kind of getting there. I mean, obviously there's some obvious stuff like with Peggle 2, it being like, having the whole joke of the fact that obviously Peggle 2 is based on Pachinko machines, which are the gambling machines, and I kind of means I can have, because he works at Zynga, I can have a joke about the fact that this is all right, but it'd be better if you had to pay each time you had a go, like, and as if he's doesn't know about Pachinko. So that's just kind of an obvious joke, but I'm trying to think of other things that he could have issue with, because I guess the joke is going to be that Don Matrick will hate all of the Xbox games now just because it's like he's been kicked out of a gang, and so, oh no, they're shit, I don't like that football team anymore. So yeah, hopefully I won't spoil anything for you, but I am still thinking about that and still going to hopefully get it done. But yeah, it's a good one. Things are going well. I feel good this week, actually. I felt really stressed last week, if I'm being honest. A lot of people saying, how's the pressure? How you feeling? It's like, yeah, I was actually really stressed because I'd signed this contract to do this thing for The Escapist, and that will actually be starting next Wednesday. The teaser for it will be going up next Wednesday anyway. So from that point onwards, you'll know what it is. And you can, if you want to ask me questions about that, then you can, because it'll all be out in the open. And I'm really excited about that, actually. It's been stressing me out because it was a lot of work, and I'd done quite a bit of it before I started any of this stuff. But I realized I was kind of like, oh, it'll be fine. But then I was like, oh no, actually, you've got loads more to do. But I feel like I've broken the back of it now, so it's just a case of like basically just hammering it on the weekends, which means for next month I'm going to be quite busy and not playing as many video games I'd like to, which is a shame, but it should be all right. But once that's all going, it should be good. And as I've said, I might have said last week, but I'm now pretty much Patreon funding is at a level where, combined with that and the money I get from Shut Up and Sit Down to do their stuff, I kind of don't need anything else. I mean, I'm on a wage that's considerably less than I was on before when I was working full-time a video gamer, but I'm not uncomfortable. I don't really spend a lot of money. You can tell, look at my room. I don't know. I don't really spend a lot of money. My outgoings are a bit of food, some nice tea, coffee, some video games. That's about it, really. So I'm kind of a cheap date. So basically from now on, I'd kind of like to be able to just focus on the Patreon stuff more. And then just if that does expand and I end up like getting more money from Patreon than I need, that'd be lovely. But from now on, it's kind of bonus territory stuff. Because I can live without being terribly worried about living or paying rent, which is amazing. Weird, really weird. But the whole thing is weird. But I kind of feel like I've just, my head's starting to kind of get used to this and be like, it's okay, man, don't worry. Because I think it's impossible not to worry about these things to a degree. Right, now I apologise if I skip some questions here, because I'm going to jump into the Q&A, but I apologise if I make a mistake here, because last time what I did is I started reading through the questions and then I start panicking and jumping back and forth a bit. So I'm going to try and just now, because I've realised it makes more sense to have just one continual question thread. It makes more sense for me to just go down it, and as new questions get added, I'll ask them. So we have just one thread. Job done. So if I do miss your question, sorry, just let me know and I'll do it next week. Oh, I'm going to take my clothes off because it's actually quite warm. So, again, I'm going to jump about a bit here until I've got myself back on track. First of all, Peter Milner asks, he says, it's fair to say Nintendo are struggling with the Wii U. If you were asked to design Nintendo's next console, what would you include? Now, I get it wrong, because what I'd do is I'd make the Wii 2. But I don't know if that would work anymore. I mean, it kind of feels like the Wii had its time, and I don't know if having a sequel for it would work. I don't know how you'd sell it. I don't think Wii Sports 2 would be enough. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. And I think that's the most honest answer I could give, because I think a lot of the time people slag off Nintendo, and I try and avoid that. I look at the Wii U and go, oh, that's really fucked up. But also, the amount of times in the past when I've looked at them, stuff that they've released, and I've thought, that's terrible. And then it's sold millions. I don't know. Like, Nintendo, this is how they work. They never do the obvious thing. So my obvious idea would be like, well, let's have a bloody Wii 2. Let's go back to what worked before. But that's not what Nintendo do. Most companies, if they failed, would go back and rest on stability and rest on what made them right before. But Nintendo don't do that. And it's great, because it means that they produce things that are amazing. Like, every now and then they just produce something that's just so innovative. They deal with disruption. They deal with changing up the market, inventing new things, inventing new toys. And I love them for it. So my advice, I don't know, I wouldn't want to tell them what to do. I think the only advice I would give Nintendo is I think that they need to give up on the Wii U. And I've said this many times, but they need to just give up on it, because they're just hemorrhaging money. It's never going to work. They don't have the support of third parties. They don't have the install base. They're releasing fantastic games for it, and the install base is not growing. They're kind of fucked. But they're not fucked as a company. It's just the Wii U's fucked. They need to just forget about it. And I'm really worried they're going to release loads of really good Wii U games and then ditch the console, when what they need to be doing now is investing in R&D to make great games for their next thing. And it's kind of, if you own a Wii U, it's kind of shit. I'm sorry. Because you're like, no, I've got this fucking thing I bought. But from a business perspective, they do need to abandon it. And to be honest, if you've bought a Wii U in the last 8 months, then you should have done so knowing that you were buying a console which was probably dead. And if you didn't know that, then yeah, you should listen to people like me more often. Marco Vejovic, oh god, sorry. Xbone and PS4, random thoughts about them. I'm kind of still disinterested. He also asks if I've tried SteamOS. I haven't tried SteamOS yet. I don't know. I mean, at the moment, I'm kind of happy with having a PC where I can just add a game on Steam, download it, pick up a pad, play it. I don't really know. There's a part of me that thinks it'd be nice to have a PS4 because I don't know, but that's like creeping into my brain slowly. Maybe that will happen when I move in, because I'm moving in with my girlfriend soon. I think that might happen then, because then it means I can sit in the living room and play a game, and because I'm not going to have a PC in the living room, and that might be nice. But at the moment, I don't have a living room. This is my living room. So consoles are kind of less relevant to me now than they were before. Joshua Woodford. I might have asked this question already. I'm getting proper deja vu. Yeah, I've done that. He was basically asking about cameos and whether or not I'd be involving the regular features guys. In fact, he says, for example, Matt and Steve's Amazing Week. Yeah, I'd love to do more stuff like that, actually. I'd really like, because me and Steve Hoggerty, if you don't know him, he's called Mr. Brilliant on Twitter. Mister. And he records a podcast with me, Regular Features, which is basically a filthy podcast about nonsense. Has nothing to do with games. And there's a reason for that, actually. It's because when we started doing it, we worked for Future Publishing, and we knew that anything we did to do with games would legally be owned by Future Publishing, even if we did it outside of work. And the chances of them actually claiming it were very slim, but we knew that if we made something and it was very successful, and it was related to games, then they'd have every right to say, hey, that's ours. So we kind of purposefully made something that was about nothing, which is the reason that Regular Features exists, basically, so it can't be claimed. But now it's just gone on to be something different, and I'm really happy with it. I'm really proud of it. But the first comedy videos I started making that did well were with Steve, and we made Matt and Steve's Amazing Week, and they're actually on this YouTube channel. They're pretty ropey, like in terms of the production qualities, like the sound's pretty terrible, the video quality's awful, but I'm still pretty proud of it. Like, I think if you watch them, like, there's some funny jokes in there, and there's some funny timings. I think it's really good work, and I'm really proud of it. It's a shame they didn't do very well. Like, one of them got about 10,000 views, but most of them only a couple of hundred. Some of my favourite ones, actually. My favourite one was a spoof of Changing Rooms, like the UK TV show about changing rooms, decorating, and that took ages to make, and it was really fun, and I love it. But hey, yeah, no, I'd love to do more Matt and Steve's Amazing Week, and maybe that sort of thing might be on this channel. Maybe, I like the idea of doing Matt and Steve's Amazing Gaming Week or something. Matt and Steve's Amazing Games. I need to work it out, but I'd love to do something regularly with him. But I guess it's that difficulty again if it's like, well, I'm being paid to make video content. I'd like to be able to, if I'm getting him to do stuff with me, I'd like to be able to pay him, to do that as well. Because Steve's a fantastic editor. He's not as competent as I am in terms of like having the skill and the practice with editing software, but the cuts he makes are amazing. Like, he was the guy who edited the Matt and Steve's Amazing Football Week, when we were playing football. And I think that's probably the best edited one we made. It's just the timing on it is just impeccable. So yeah, I mean, that's something I haven't really talked about, and I wouldn't want to do without checking with people first. But I kind of feel like if for whatever reason, at the moment, the Patreon thing seems to have leveled out at the level that I hoped it would. Basically, the number it's on now is sort of like, I was quietly optimistic that we might get to there eventually, and then it would level out about there. If for whatever reason it does end up going up, then I'd love to be able to spend that extra money on paying people to make things for my channel, paying people to be a part of it, at least. Just so, because otherwise I feel like I was taking the piss out of them, basically, If I was doing videos and they were really popular and people really liked them and I was earning money from it and other people weren't, it was like, that would feel really shitty. But I know a lot of really talented people who I'd love to be able to get involved with my stuff. It's just difficult to get them involved without that kind of getting a bit sticky after a while, I guess. But I do want to do some more light stuff, just having people involved, especially. And as I say, I know I keep talking about it and not doing it, but the podcast will be that'll be a start of that. That will be a thing that will kick off. And hopefully I'm going to be able to get the podcast rolling soon-ish. We'll see. I just want to make sure that I have an infrastructure for that. I don't want to start a podcast and say, hey, it's a new podcast, and then be like, oh, episode 2 will be in 4 weeks or something. It might be weekly. It might be bi-weekly. It might be bisexual. It won't be bisexual. Podcasts can't be bisexual. It's not a person. Andrew Charles. Hi, Matt. When the retail version of Oculus Rift arrives, do you think you'll pick one up? Hey, Matt, I'm pretty sure you've asked this question before. Shut the fuck up and ask another one. But the answer to that is yes. But he did ask, if so, what games, applications you're most looking forward to trying it with. I don't know. I talked about this a little bit last time, but I think the thing I'm most excited about with the Oculus Rift is the fact that it's going to make different games. There was something on Kickstarter yesterday that was kind of skimming the target, maybe looked like it might just make it, but it was about being a dolphin in a school, cheating in exams and having to look over at other dolphins to see what they were writing. Mental. I think the fascinating thing about Oculus Rift is it doesn't really work if you're moving around. It works best in games where you're static. So apparently it's amazing for Euro Truck Simulator 2, where you just sit looking out your window of your truck, driving a truck. So I kind of find it weird that I mean, if they know what they're doing, Oculus Rift will be sold to the masses as a racing game thing, because nutters will spend a fortune on bloody racing chairs and all sorts of shite. But I just think Oculus Rift is amazing, like for that. Like, imagine it. Here's a racing game, put a wheel in front of you, put this on, you're sitting in a race car. Job done. Like, you will sell so many of them. And I'm amazed that, I mean, if they don't launch it like that and sell it to racing enthusiasts, then they're insane, because it's just, it will print money and it will get them out there. Somebody was telling me the other day that their baby liked my on hold music from these videos, which I thought was adorable. Okay. Dan Wheeler says, what do you think? Will there be a rough routine for videos, themes of videos when I get going, or is everything going to be spontaneous? That's a good question. I don't know. The XCOM thing I'm going to launch this week, I'm going to do my absolute best to make sure that is a weekly thing. I'm not good at schedules. I'm very bad at them, but I kind of figure that I can do that. That will be possible. Other than that, I don't know. I kind of feel like when I create myself too much of a schedule with things, I get too stressed and I stop doing things that are good in a weird way, because I kind of go, oh, I could do this video, and I get a great idea and I'm excited by that idea. But then I go, oh, you can't, Matt, because you've got to do this and this and this. And you go, okay, I'm sorry, maybe I'll do it later. And then I'll go, oh, no, the time's passed. I've missed it. And I kind of felt like the only reason I was able to do a lot of the stuff I loved at Video Gamer was because I wasn't really tied into any structure of series stuff. Meant that as soon as I had a good idea that I was passionate about, I could just jump in and just do it and get it done like immediately. And I think that produced my best work. Although it's weird, because I sometimes feel, on the other hand, like stressed about the fact that I haven't got anything to do. Like, I'll have some days where I'll feel like, oh, I should do something, because I get the fear, you know. I'm like, I haven't put up a video for 2 days. I need to make something, otherwise people are going to be annoyed. And I mean, that's not anyone being annoyed. It's just, that's how my head works. I mean, that's why I make so much stuff. It's just, my head is sort of mental like that, in terms of like the drums of war beating away. You do things. And it's frustrating when you don't have something to do. Like, some days it's kind of nice to have a task that you know what you have to do, and you know it's just going to be a certain amount of time and effort. Whereas the problem with doing stuff on the fly is, it means some days you'll want to do something, but you just don't have an idea, and you have to wait for the idea to come. And that's why there's nothing really I've done for this new channel yet that I'm like super proud of. And I kind of beat myself up about that a bit, because it's like, come on, Matt, do something fucking great. But I just haven't had the great ideas yet. And I think that's partly about the fact that it's quite quiet for news at the moment. And I was kind of spoiled last year with all of the next gen hype and, you know, the games coming out at the end of the year. There was a lot of fun stuff to do and a lot of fun stuff to take the piss out of. But I think it's also partly down to the fact that I haven't really had time to play that many games. So I'm not having the sort of crazy ideas that come from that, from playing a game and having a stupid idea to do with a popular game. So these are both things that I think will level out quite soon, to be honest. I think I just need to treat myself to the time to actually play video games. But I think as I gradually get a bit more relaxed with what's going on here, that will just happen. That will just happen. This is Jeff Stanton asks about what are my feelings about microtransactions. Oh, it's such a big topic, you know? I don't really know. I mean, that's a tough one. I think that's like a whole video at some point. That's like a massive detail. I think with everything, it's just a case of like, it's like free to play. It's not evil inherently. You just got to make sure it's done right. But I mean, generally, I think that the fact that the way they've slipped into games without any thought as just a thing because they make money is very worrying. But it's a big topic. It's a really difficult topic to talk about, really. Because I think that it's not as simple as good and evil and bad. It's just, there's something wrong with the system where games that do that make so much more money. And I think it's kind of a symptom at the moment of the fact that these £40 games aren't selling very well, and so they supplement the sales of these things with these microtransactions because they know they're not going to sell many copies of the game for £40. And I think that's the wrong approach. I think that the approach is to look at why aren't our games selling very well in the first place, and it's probably because they're too fucking expensive. So it seems like a ridiculous situation they've gone with, saying, not a lot of people are willing to pay £40, but a lot of people are willing to pay £1. So let's fill our game with microtransactions. When, of course, the real point you should probably take away from this is, well, hang on a minute. People are willing to spend a couple of quid. People aren't willing to spend 40 quid. Where's the bit in the middle? Like, where's the bit that people are going to spend and buy things? But I don't know. I mean, it's been kind of tainted a bit by the battery in my light's running out. It's been tainted a bit by mobile phone games, obviously, and the fact that people are like, yeah, but these guys are spending a fortune on microtransactions. They must be good. And it's like, yeah, I don't know who these people are, you know? Talk about whales a lot. Whales obviously being the people who spend a fortune on microtransactions in games. And basically, whales are the people who support the system. Because it's not lots of people spending a little bit. It's mostly a few people spending a lot. And I don't know who these fucking nutbags are. I mean, there's this tendency that publishers want us to believe that they're all just like high-flying lawyers who are like, I don't have time to wait 30 seconds on this. I'm going to spend $1,000 to make it so I never have to wait on this shitter phone game ever again. And I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it is that there are loads of mental kids who are doing stuff on their parents' phone and their parents are going, oh, for fuck's sake. Or if generally there are these nutters who are spending all this money. But it feels dirty. I think that's the big problem with microtransactions. It feels dirty. And I think it's not too bad if it's a case of, if a game is free and a game is fun, and then a game gives you a chance to give it some money to get something which doesn't break the mechanics of the game, but shows your appreciation for the game and for the developers, I think microtransactions are perfect. And that's why I think like stuff like Path of Exile does it fantastically, and Dota does it perfectly, of just being like, I love this game, so how can I give you money? Oh, that's a nice hat. Can I pay you for this hat? Oh, okay, here's some money. That is like really nice. It's like buying somebody a present for their birthday when they've said they don't want a present, but you want to show them that you're a really good friend and that you really like them and really appreciate them. It's kind of a sort of selfless act in a way. And that's a good relationship for developers to have with people. But I think a lot of the money men think that microtransactions are something that are just good because they look at the numbers and the bottom line. And, you know, it's difficult to argue with that. I mean, EA are investing tons of money and stuff. They're making so much money with real fucking racing or whatever it is. So much money. Who can blame them? I'm kind of amazed that EA continue to make proper big games for us. I think in some ways people are like, oh, I hate EA. It's like, I kind of like EA a lot because they don't need to do this. Like any sensible company would look at the current market, look at the money they're making off their fucking mobile phone bullshit, look at the losses they're making on their AAA games, and they just get out of it. They just go, you know what? Fuck yourself. You're not getting Mirror's Edge 2. You're not getting Dragon Age 3. You're not getting any of this shit. We're out. Bye. And that's like that's what a rational company would do. But they're not. They're still very, very obsessed with trying to win us over. Even though they regularly, all of their hard work then gets trashed by like a couple of bad PR decisions. And you've got to understand the scale of these things as well. When people say they hate EA, it's like, do you know how much effort it takes for them to do the good things they do? Like, they do bad things, sure, and they have made some bad games, and they've made some bad decisions, and they put some bad things into their games. But a lot of the hatred comes from their flippant PR, their bad decisions. One bad thing that is just so often just an offhand comment, something somebody's said or something somebody's done they haven't really thought about, undoes the work that has taken so long. Like some of the games that EA make, some of the games that get greenlit will have taken possibly like 6 months to a year of meetings. Like there are people really, really working so hard to just get good things done, to get good things made, and then it just gets like completely undone with like a minute of shit. And I think that's a great shame. And I think if people had more of an understanding of the way that the industry works, like for the fact that they've announced that they're making Mirror's Edge 2, that's not going to make any money. Like, that is purely EA doing something because they know that a small group of people who really care about games really want that game. It's an incredible act of kindness, really, because it will not make money. Mirror's Edge 2 will not make money. It may break even at best, but I don't know. It's like, it's such a huge gesture, and the people who have managed to make that happen, it will have been so much work. Like, they will have been like sweating blood to get that to happen. And it's kind of a shame that there are people working so hard to make these things happen, and then just it gets completely washed away, like from just somebody being a dick, basically. So that's a shame. That's a shame. Next question. I just spilt more tea all over myself. Again, I mean, it's not hot anymore, but I'm getting upset by the fact that I appear to be a complete idiot. I've got to stop using wide mugs. This is ridiculous. Lovely, lovely tea. I'm drinking it's nettle and peppermint and fennel tea. I don't know if I like it, but it sounds good, doesn't it? Tough question from Joshua McGain, who basically asks, he's talking about the way that I talk about Dark Souls having this sort of connection between the art style and the world, and having this kind of making of and having this craft of things tying together. And he's asking if there are any Western developer houses that display a similarly good kind of ability to consider the mechanical design and artistic design together. I mean, he suggests Rockstar and Naughty Dog. I think Naughty Dog more so than Rockstar, frankly. I think Rockstar, I think the most impressive in terms of art direction and that tying in with the mechanics, that was Red Dead Redemption's the biggest game for them recently. I thought the GTA 5 was a really impressive game, but for different reasons. And I kind of feel like, I don't know, it's a shame because I get the impression that the guys who made Red Dead were kind of not treated terribly well by Rockstar within the company before that. They were kind of like, oh yeah, you guys go make that. And then it came out and it was really good. And I think now that they're probably in a better position. But I get the impression they weren't like the Rockstar. Because I get the impression within Rockstar, there's a bunch of different studios, but really it's like, if you're not making GTA, it's like, whatever, mate, you know, you're not really all that. And they still throw the weight of the marketing behind it. You know, they still use the branding to get it done. But I mean, look at what happened with LA Noire. You know, they didn't, after LA Noire came out and it was mixed and stuff, their relationship with Bondi didn't really last too well. You know, it didn't last very long. So I don't know. That's completely conjecture. That's just kind of getting the impression of looking at the way things move. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, there are quite a few, to be honest. There are quite a few. I think what tends to get Western developers struggling with this stuff, I think, is the fact that the sizes of the team are just too big. I think to be able to have a real, well, it's simple, actually. To be able to have like a really strong connection between artistic design and mechanics of the game and feeling like you've created something, that's vision. That's something that's every good game will have at the point of conception, at the idea stage. There'll be somebody who knows what they want the game to be like. But then it's just a case of then like tying horses together that are trying to run away. Because you either need to be an incredibly good producer who can just be like, you have to do this, you have to do this. To keep 100 people like working on the same vision and creating something tight within that vision is such a difficult task. 200 people, like God, like when you get to like 700, like, you know, you've got these mega studios and multiple things, forget about it. Like it's just impossible. And that's what I kind of feel like From Software. They're a team of like, I don't think people know exactly how many people, but I'm pretty sure they're about 40 to 100. Like they're quite a small team. And I think with smaller teams, it's much easier to make sure that you do have that tightness. Otherwise, you have like whole teams working on different levels. And you end up with like really disjointed games. I mean, I kind of like some of the Call of Duty games, but there's no denying that in some of the recent games, especially when I played Black Ops 2, it was so obvious that the levels were made by different development teams. And they'll never openly admit that. because Activision are incredibly shady about who's doing what. But it was just fucking like, the quality for starters was like all over the place. Some levels were amazing, other levels were just terrible. But also just, there just was something missing. It felt like levels. It felt like an old school video game where it's like, oh, you're on the ice level. Oh, you're on the fire level. It was just that they weren't ice levels and fire levels. They were airport level and city level. And yeah, I think it's that thing. It's basically just a case of, generally speaking, a lot of Western development has tended to gravitate towards these mega studios, but I think that's changing, and it's changed already. And I think the thing is, we're not seeing the fruits of that yet. I think it's, a lot of studios are split up, a lot of smaller studios are happening. And I think we're going to start seeing the fruits of that within probably this year. And actually, I'm really excited about it because it feels like the mega studios have started to dissolve, and it's sort of the B, you know, it used to be that it was like, it's AAA or it's indie, and that's it. That's what I think Cliff Bleszinski said. But now it's like AAA is fucked as well. And actually, we're seeing the B grade games come back. And I'm really excited about that because B grade games are my favorite. Binary Domain, Dragon's Dogma, fucking yeah. I love these smaller games. And I'm really excited to see what Western developers do, because it's not that Japanese game developers make better B games. It's just that, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Am I going to sneeze? Oh, I hate this. Oh, I don't think I'm going to sneeze. Am I? Oh, no, fucking hell. It's not even funny. Well, it is, but it's not. It's not even that Japanese developers make better B games. I think it's just the fact that maybe due to budgets, maybe due to cultures, they didn't do the same thing as the West. They didn't expand to these mega studios. And a lot of Western... There were Western kind of mini studios, but they were trying to produce games that were like AAA games. They were trying to go for that similar market, and it just didn't work, you know? They were trying to make kind of cool, gritty, shootery things, and that's just such a market where it has to be sheeny and shiny and nice and new and slick. Otherwise, someone else is going to go for the slicker one. It's not... Whereas, like, I guess the Japanese market has managed to retain that smaller size for longer is because they have a devoted niche audience. And Western games haven't got the same niche audience to the same degree, but I feel that they will. And I feel like it's more that, in a way, Japanese games culture had longer to establish itself and find its sort of what it wanted to be, whereas Western game development hasn't been as culturally kind of grown. I mean, I'm kind of rambling here, but it's hard to describe exactly what I mean. But I feel like we've had long enough now that we have started to find our way and have started to do something different, because initially it was like a lot of Western game design was just kind of going, God, these Japanese people make games in fucking weird ways. Let's make things more intuitive and let's get rid of all this bollocks. And in some degrees, at first, it was like, oh God, of course, it's so much better like this. But now it's like, well, actually, no, you've removed lots of the problems from Japanese game design, but actually what we've got now is somehow a bit bland. And like oddly, when you take all of the edges off of something, you just end up with something that's a bit nothing. It's just sort of round and nothing else. And it's something I talked about in the Dark Souls review video of being like, these games tend to review quite well a lot of the time, because if you're playing a game that's like incredibly pretty, incredibly polished, everything is just slick and nice, then it's kind of hard to play it and go, yeah, looks great, everything's great, really smooth, 7 out of 10. It's just because people go, what? Because I do think that they're on the weighting scale for how games are critically perceived and perceived by the mass market as well, that perhaps too much of the emphasis on high scores is to do with kind of skin deep qualities of aesthetics and things. I think it's very rare that you see somebody write a review that goes, this game's like really ugly, kind of broken, but it's got some great ideas and it's really fun. 9 out of 10. Like, it's almost like there's an unwritten rule. It's like, if a game is broken but interesting, then the highest score you can give it is an 8. And it's like, in a way, it's kind of useful, because it means you stop looking at the review numbers as being like, good, very, very good, and just start to appreciate what the numbers really mean, of being like, 8 out of 10. It means it's interesting. That's kind of the way I look at it anyway. I'm kind of reaching my limit. Guy Woodward asks, is it safe? That's a reference to, I think, is it the Marathon Man? They're drilling someone's teeth? Yes, it's safe. Or I don't know. Okay. Zach asks a question here where he asks, does you moving away from more mainstream journalism mean a reduced access to early codes, meetings, and chances to talk to developers and getting the inside track on things? While it's hard to tell what a finished product looks like, it's always nice to hear opinions. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Tricky. I've talked about this a bit. It's sort of like, when it gets to the point where games are coming out and I have the opportunity to go and play them, I'm going to try and do that, providing it doesn't take up too much time, or providing the game is important enough or interesting enough to justify that time. In terms of talking to developers, there are only certain developers I'm really interested in talking to, because a lot of the time, as I've said in the past, they will not say anything of interest. And you could try and have the number of people I've interviewed in my time, because I used to interview so many people for OXM, and it's almost like my first question would be an opening gambit, where what I'd ask would vary, but the gist of the question would always be the same. It would always be a kind of feeler, as if to say, are you going to have a conversation with me? Or are you going to tell me some things? And if it got to the point where it was like, I'm going to tell you some things, then it's like, I'm out. I didn't leave any interviews, although there are some I really wanted to actually just go, you know what, I'm fine, actually, I'm fine. But there were quite a few where I stopped after a few questions. I asked 3 or 4 questions and then go, oh, that's it, thanks, that's it. And you know what, those interviews never got transcribed, because I don't need somebody to fly across the world and read a press release to me. You know, I can read a press release. Sadly, there are a lot of really shit journos who will just basically do a developer interview and then write what developer says. And that's kind of, sometimes that's how it works. If you have a good interview and you read it and go, this is really interesting, you print the interview. But otherwise, you ask them questions, then you get information, and then you write up your thoughts combined with the information. It's how it works. It sounds dumb, but I've been at press events where where you've had a developer saying, this is a really innovative and exciting version of this game. And I've seen people writing down innovative and exciting version. It's like, you don't do that. You don't take what they say and repeat it. You listen to what they say, and then you consider it. And you go, is it? And then you go, well, they've said it's this, but is it? Doesn't look like it is. And I mean, obviously, these aren't really professionals. A lot of the time, this is sort of like people who are kind of like bloggers and enthusiasts. And I don't want to seem like I'm punching down, but it's difficult, because it's like a lot of the systems are kind of being increasingly set up for those people. There are increasingly very few games journalists who are being paid, because the system can't sustain them, and it's being replaced with an army of kind of enthusiasts, super fans, community. You know, a lot of games publishers are closing down their PR departments or minimizing them massively and investing in community, which just basically means talking to super fans, talking to you guys directly. There are good things about that. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to be elitist about this. It's not necessarily a bad thing. But one of the aspects it has changed is the way that preview events and the interviews work, is they are increasingly designed to feed information to people who will happily repeat it, which is not what I'm interested in. Again, it's just a waste of time. Send me a press release. I'll read it. Show me a video. However, occasionally there are developers who are very open and you can have conversations with. And there are some publishers and developers I'm going to reach out to who I know will not bullshit me. You know, a lot of them will, and I'm not going to deal with them. But there are some PRs I trust enough to say, listen, if I come to this event, are they going to talk to me about this? And if they say no, I'll go, well, I'm not going to come. And that's fine. There's no standoff there. There's no beef. It's just, that's the way it is. But a lot of people will, as I've said before, a lot of people will say anything to get you there. Oh, sure. And then you get there and they go, oh, actually, it's not hands-on. And I'm afraid you can only talk to the guy for 5 minutes and he's only allowed to talk about the DLC. And it's like, really? Fuck off. Because, you know, they want to get heads in so they can write up a PR report saying this many people came to the event, it was a great success. I know about how this works because I used to be a PR. I'm not having a go. I understand the realities of it. But I was always a very honest PR with people. And if people ask me straight questions, they get straight answers. And that's not something that necessarily is a belief in a system that all PRs use. However, I think the general gist is I am going to continue to do some of that stuff, but it's just going to be about which people are willing to work with me and how much I'm going to be able to get out of it. Because I'm not going to lie, that my needs for it are going to be a bit silly. There are people who, like for example, let's just think about CD Projekt Red. Now, CD Projekt Red I think they're an incredible company, and I think every time I talk to the people there, they're very open, very honest. If they can't tell you something, they'll just say, I'm really sorry, can't say anything. But they seem to be people who are open to conversation and open to having in-depth talks about stuff. I love the Witcher games, and I love Cyberpunk so much. I'm a huge Cyberpunk role-playing game fan. I used to play it a lot when I was a kid, and I'm so excited about that game. I would love, for example, if they were doing a studio thing, I would love to not have to deal with PRs and just be able to deal with them and just come out to their studio, talk to the people there, and do a kind of properly in-depth kind of mini documentary about the games that they're making, talk to people. Something like that I would love to do. However, when people are developing games, it's a huge thing to take people's time because you have to do these press things. But when you do it, it means you've got like days where people can't work because you have to just basically the studio has to go into kind of like model toy town thing. And I mean, maybe I'll make a whole video at some point about how studio tours work, but it's kind of silly. A lot of the time it's like people aren't really working, or if they are, they're working in rooms that you definitely can't go into because they don't want people to see things and et cetera, et cetera. The whole thing's kind of for show. And for somebody like me to say to these guys, hey, can I come over to your studio and talk to you? Or hey, can I come and talk to you and have this proper conversation, do this and this and this? They're going to look at it and go, well, you're a YouTube dude with 5,000 subscribers and we've got we could go and have a chat with, I don't know, this newspaper or this prestigious magazine. And yeah, you know, why should they spend time doing stuff with me? So that's what it boils down to, is the fact that most of the stuff I'm going to get access to at my level because I'm kind of back to square one in a weird way, like in terms of I don't have a publication behind me. I can't be like, oh, I've read for these people. I make videos for these people. It's like I'm just me now, which means I'm kind of nobody, but that's fine. It's just the way it is. It's like the stuff I will get access to from a publisher and PR perspective will be cookie cutter stuff. And a lot of the time, it's not really worth my time to do it because I can do better things on my own. However, like, you know, the more interesting things, the more in-depth things, the more hands-on stuff where you get the kind of access that I can actually produce really interesting stuff with and really good stuff. In some cases, people might go, you know, fair enough, you're a specialist, you could be able to do something really good with this, we'll get you involved. But a lot of the time, it does boil down to numbers, and they're going to look at the numbers and crunch numbers and go, who's this guy? He's got like 5,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's nobody. Like, no, you can't come and do this or can't come and talk to our lead about a game that came out. And that's another thing, is very often you can't talk to them about other stuff. When you're at a press event, you can only talk about what they're promoting there. And I find the more interesting conversations are usually talking about projects in the past and saying, what do you think about this? And because obviously then you're asking questions about a product that you have a knowledge of. Some people are open to talking about stuff like that, but a lot of the time people will just go, I'm kind of here just to talk about this. It's like when I visited, it was a Borderlands 2 event and I wanted to talk to them about Aliens Colonial Marines. And they were like, oh, we're not really talking about that today. And actually in that case, I did push and I did go, no. And so you can't not, like, because you're expecting fan faith now. We need to talk about this a bit. And they did actually go, they kind of awkwardly went, oh, okay. And they did. But it's like, and sometimes when they take a PR line, you have every right to go, fuck off. We're talking about this. But a lot of the time, they just say, no, we're not talking about that. And it's like, why not? Why are you being boring? And that's a whole nother problem for a whole nother time. And actually, press are partly to blame for that because there's a lot of tabloid bullshit that means that developers have to be careful because otherwise we're going to string them up and make them get in trouble with their bosses. And yeah, it's a war of attrition. There's a lot of bollocks going on. However, what I will say in terms of people being worried that I'm not going to get the inside track on things, don't worry too much about that because frankly, most of the information I have on the industry, most of the knowledge I have about the industry comes from other people within the industry. And I've still got lots of friends within the industry. I've still got lots of people I know who I'm close to who work for big publications or know big people. A lot of this stuff that goes around is all based on rumors and hearsay and, you know, this person said this person said this, conversations over drinks. So I'm still going to get a lot of that, you know. I never got much of that directly anyway. It's just a case of, generally speaking, when you've heard something from 3 or 4 people, it's probably true. Like the whole Batman thing. In Batman Arkham Knight, you drive the Batmobile. I've known that for about 6 months. Didn't want to say anything because I thought I might get people into trouble. But yeah, you tend to hear noises. So don't worry too much about me being kept out of the loop. I've been in the loop with this industry for quite a long time. And I don't think the fact that I'm not working in an office is going to change that anytime soon. Anyway, I'm going to call it a day for now because I keep spilling tea on myself. And frankly, I'm losing my voice and I need some lunch. And I should probably do some bloody XCOMing. XCOMing! I'm XCOMing! Oh, that's a bad joke, isn't it? It's about willies and stuff. Let's call this a day. Thank you very much for watching. We will have another update / Q&A next week. Sorry I didn't get through as many questions as I hoped. It's because I'm a ramblomatic bastard. And yes, goodbye. Or / no, people don't like it when I say goodbye. I'll do the proper one. Bye!